I am back. Yes, I'm on. I'm going to finish this up for you guys from current slide. We just had a few more slides and actually had to split this up because I wanted to get some of it on there. Some of you have been on the spot with watching these. I'm really impressed. Bravo. It seems to maybe help to have that forum in there as like a little nugget to look for. It's a little bit of excitement, right? Oh, I found it. Perhaps I'm on to something, or maybe not. Maybe you guys are so annoyed with me. All right, we're on sex role and gender role development, 204, 205, and back to Freud, our friend Freud, psychoanalytic theory. So, in Freud's theory with sex role and gender role development, gender is not really an issue in the first two stages. That becomes more of an issue during the third stage, around 4. That's when gender becomes a major focus. It is also called the phallic stage. Children start to become aware of genitals and start to notice that girls and boys are different, right? But I have a different part than you do. Much of Freud's work concerns tensions, competitions, and dynamics of the child-parent relationship that arises out of these biological differences, or so he says. He seems to kind of overstate the power of that. And there's also a huge anti-female bias in his work, right? He often defines women as inadequate, insecure, and even masochistic. If he gave us the hysteria kind of, thank you. So there's a lot of anti-female bias in his work. So behavioral theory is different. So these are the theoretical models with lifespan development on sex role and gender role development. So behavioral theory, of course, is different than psychoanalytic. This is learned that gender identity is learned. And this, of course, is also very controversial. It also says that classical conditioning, operant conditioning are a part of that process, and that gender appropriate behaviors are rewarded while gender non-appropriate behaviors are punished, which we could probably have a whole discussion on that. I have certainly learned a lot with my own children. For instance, letting Gray dress up in Helen's clothes and letting him play with makeup and that kind of stuff, and not chastising him for that, and just letting them develop in the way that they want to develop instead of me pushing my own agenda from my learned behaviors onto them, which I think we do as a society a lot. So that can't contend with, if that is the case, if behavioral theory is correct, then why are so many people not gender conforming that might have been through classical conditioning and operant conditioning? So that's kind of the criticism of that. It looks as individuals very passive in their socialization. But then there's cognitive development theory, and then we're going to go to interpretive theory. So cognitive development theory is just what we think it is. The cognitive development theory is largely based on Piaget and Kohlberg. The assumption is that learned behaviors are then constructed to form an understanding of what is male and what is female. Sandra Bim took the cognitive development framework and made contributions to it to apply to gender formation. She has a gender schema theory, and that our cultures consist of hidden assumptions, assumptions of sexuality, male and female, they're very explicit, very embedded in cultures, social institutions and behavior. They're lenses, right? And she came up with 3 lenses that characterize the United States and other Western cultures. They're gender polarization, androcentrism, and biological essentialism. And gender polarization is that describing our tendency to dichotomize world of gender as male or female, which I was just discussing. That's behavior theory. We're trying to put those in 2 boxes, which we now know that's definitely not the case. Androcentrism is the tendency to view masculine things as superior to things associated with femininity. And biological essentialism is the tendency to ground gender differences in biology, thus making them natural, normal, and necessary. And then we have the interpretivist theory. It emphasizes more of a collectivist versus individualistic nature of socialization. Interpretivist theory really looks at more than just the behavioral and cognitive development theory. It includes more of the whole world of the child, the friendships, the peer groups, play groups, all the different um, areas that the child is influenced by to help conceptualize more of the messages. Peer groups are safe places where boys and girls are sometimes safe places where they can act out behaviors and construct knowledge. Um, Diversity. And keep in mind all of these theories, right, are culturally specific. All right, let's talk about diversity. So definitely the meaning of, for instance, being female is very different depending on whether you're rich or poor or black or white, right? The consequences of being poor are really grounded on your gender and ethnicity. Ethnicity, sorry. Um, the world of a child is very small, and they look at their family as an extension to the world. So we're quite segregated in our culture, and hopefully that's changing. There's a lot going on right now, and I'm hopeful that a lot of these things are beginning to change. But one of the things is with preschool children is you can actually talk to them about all the different cultures and all the different sexualities, and you can help to empower them to know these things and them not live in a bubble. Um, Ethnicity, social class. Ethnicity is ethnic categories that are cultural constructs that must be learned. Individuals must learn what factors are to be used in classifying individuals. Social class, preschool children's experiences with diverse social classes are even more limited because extended family, residential neighborhoods, and the composition of the preschool population are largely class specific. Therefore, there's a tendency to assume that poverty results in a specific and maladaptive class, while middle class are considered normal. And we know this from the ACEs study. We know this from a lot of things going on in the world, that this is accurate. You just scared me to death.
That's what I'm for.
I think my students enjoy these little brain breaks. Okay, my daughter just scared me, and my child is screaming, so I'm going to pause this for a second. Oh yeah, my husband just went fishing. I'm going to pause this. Of course, daycare and school have a major influence in socialization and the type of care that you can provide for your child. More moms are working outside of the home, so daycare is pretty common. And there are multiple different kinds of childcare settings. There's people who, family members keep the child in the home. There's family daycares out of the home and daycare centers. The average cost of one child is $500 to $800 a month, and I would tell you that's true. At least it was. Gosh, I had Gray in pre-K last year, and then before that, so it was like 540, I think. And then we paid more than that, especially when they're newborns. You have to pay more money. So it definitely costs a lot, especially if you think you have two in daycare at the same time. That's more than a mortgage. And there's no one size fits all. Each family has a child who has unique needs depending on their family situation. But really important to be looking for the right fit for the family and making sure that the daycare is a good fit and healthy for the children. Let's see. All right, and there's different parenting styles. And this gets back, you can remember that this looks like the attachment styles, right? So there's authoritarian parenting, authoritative, permissive, and uninvolved. Authoritarian is parents are demanding, like a dictator, right? They're completely controlling. They don't provide explanations. There's not affection. They tend to restrict their emotions. And then authoritative parenting is structure, direction, but also allowing the child to have freedom, room for exploration, and self-expression. That's the best one, authoritative, right? It's like balanced. Permissive is they're accepting and affirming. They're just really permissive. They few demands are placed on the child, and the children often turn out not able to be resilient and strong and control themselves. And then uninvolved, this is different. It's a lack of communication with the child and a lack of affection. Um, I feel like we've already talked about this, but play is one of the most important things for children. So important. They don't play together at first when they're younger. They play in parallel. So they um, play solitary or next to each other, and then they start to have some effort to cooperate and play. Sustaining that imaginative play is really important and good for their development. And play therapy is very important when you work with children. Okay, here are some questions for thought. So just consider those. And for reflection number 2 on chapter 8, so that I know that you watched both of these, I want you to answer this. Does diagnosing preschool-age children provide early intervention and help, or does it label them? Are behaviors within the normal range of preschool development becoming pathologized? That's what I want you to answer in your reflection 8, part 2, 11 minutes. You can do this.